Ingo Arend for HYPER Annotations 3.0 triple ampersands public program. Ingo, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Ingo is a critic. He's here at the Venice Biennale. Ingo, can you tell us a little bit about your practice as a critic?
Well, I'm an art critic based in Berlin, working since, let's say, 15 years or so, something like that as an art critic. I always work at the intersection of art and politics.
Yes.
So I'm a political scientist and historian from profession, but working in the cultural field. And my specialization is biennials in the global art world and the intersection of art and politics.
Yes.
And I'm also, well, a little bit busy in the Berlin art scene. For 8 years I've been the board member of NGBK. It's a Berlin Arts Club. So I'm also near, let's say, engaged art practice and not only working completely as a critic. So.
Yes. And how do you see the role of the critic within the Venice Biennale, or perhaps biennales more generally? Is it perhaps a political role or political responsibility for you? Please elaborate.
Yes, I mean the role of the critic in the international cultural field and the art field in special, I think it's diminishing.
Yes.
Because of a lot of developments in the last decades.
Yes.
I mean the shift from analog publishing to digital publishing. This kind of amateur criticism has developed, which I do not want to blame. I think it's an enrichment.
Yes.
So, but the traditional role of an art critic, who is kind of a official mode setter for, or someone who is trying to establish a canon, is of course diminished in the last year. So we are contributing to a kind of public debate, but as single persons. And the longer I work in this field, I have the impression the lesser the people are listening to that. Nevertheless, I continue with what I'm doing because I'm also satisfied for myself in reflecting about aesthetic phenomena and what does it mean in the perception of society. So it's also kind of personal pleasure to be an art critic.
Yes, yes. As I understand it, you're quite interested in the German pavilion. Could you give us your kind of critical perspective on it?
I have to be honest, I went there 2 times, and at the first time I was kind of embarrassed. I didn't get the connection between Albertana and Ersan Montag. But once you have seen one of the performances of Ersan in the installation, Monument to an Unknown Man, the more you get touched by the personal relation. It's his grandfather's fate, which he's describing, but it's also universal because it's like Aaron Copland's musical theme, Fanfare to a Common Man. This is also an artwork for an abstraction, the unknown man. So it describes the fate of a man who's typical for the German history after the Second World War. There's migrant laborers coming from Turkey, and it's of course a political sign to not only have an artist with a migration background, though he's born in Germany, representing Germany at the pavilion. I mean, representation is a crucial thing, also this national pavilion, but at least he's trying to rewrite the history of the pavilion in terms of him being someone as an artist with a migration background and a relation to Turkey, and also is contributing with a theme that is plays a crucial role in German society, which is very much divided over migration politics at the moment. So this is an important moment, and I also like Ersan Montag's work as a stage director, opera director, and I think one should not use this vocabulary perhaps at these times, but sometimes I think he's a kind of a genius in how he grasps the themes, how he develops as aesthetics, and how there's a moment of immersion in all his works, which draws you into it, and also develops a very in-depth research of what he is trying to find out. So from the perception side and from the production side, there's an immersive aspect which I like very much. And also that he likes aesthetics. You know, we have such a main wave of conceptual artworks, and I like this combination of a political theme, but worked out in very much aesthetic form.
Yes, yes. And where would you situate this year's German pavilion in the history of other German pavilions in the past? Perhaps in regards to migration, but perhaps not, perhaps more broadly?
I mean, it's an outstanding pavilion. It's an extraordinary pavilion, but I would not say it's the best of which ever happened. I mean, there have been a lot of good artworks, but also, I mean, it's extraordinary also because it extends to this island Certosa and tries to overcome this nationalistic idea with this kind of music installations. So this is an extraordinary thing, and I pay tribute to the artwork, to the whole concept of Chala Ilk, and also that it's a kind of collaborative thing because all these people work together, and in a much more cohesive way than other group shows have been presented. That's a special thing, and I think one will remind that in the history of the German pavilions. And for the first time, I had the impression that one forgets about the fascist architecture because you are inside in a kind of cave or something like that, and forget the complete surroundings. So you are in this special world, which is far away from the fascist architecture, which is always an obstacle for every curator who works with the pavilion. And this is also an extraordinary achievement.
Certainly, certainly. Were there any other pavilions you found notable?
I have some other pavilions. I mean, I like the Spanish pavilion. One of the big themes in art history, art criticism, art practice is decolonizing, challenging the canon, and also for the first time in the Spanish pavilion, a migrant artist with a migrant background representing Spain is trying to rewrite the canon and decolonize this kind of classical Western hierarchical pinacoteca, and he does not only, it's not only a concept, but he tries to do it with aesthetic terms. You know, he made his own pictures. So this is a great achievement, and because I think also political art, which I'm dealing very much with, should always have a conscience of form. Not only of presenting some kind of slogans or things like that. And this is one of the examples where you can try to achieve these goals, decolonizing, rewriting the canon, feminizing, queering the museum, whatever, but with aesthetical forms. And that's important, and that's one example I like very much. And the other pavilion I liked very much was Wal Shaki at the Egypt Pavilion. I mean, in a way, he's doing what he always does, kind of reenactment or inscenating crucial points of history, like he did with the history of the Crusades. Now he's doing a special occasion in the Egyptian history, and this kind of opera thing. is kind of blurring the boundaries between documentation and aesthetics.
Yes.
And that I like very much, and also this kind of irony behind this opera thing,
Yeah.
because it becomes a little bit pathetic, but also humorous, and
Yes.
that's one of the outstanding pavilions
Yes.
I've noticed.
Yes, so I've heard. I also want to ask you about the theme for this year's Biennale, which is foreigners everywhere, and perhaps propose to you something, which is that, well, a lot of the times, or some of the times, some of the pavilions or the artworks tend to respond to this theme somewhat tangentially or nominally, not taking it very seriously. What do you make of this?
Well, when I heard that Pedrosa chose this slogan, "Foreigners everywhere,"
Yes, precisely.
Yeah, I was, to be honest, a little bit bored, because we have talked about such slogans since the last 15 years. And I mean, in the Arsenale, or in the main exhibition which he curated, there are a lot of astonishing artists which I've never heard of, also me. But I don't think summing up all those people from the global south doesn't make a concept.
Of course.
Wherever he found some minority position which has a connection to the global south, he piled it up to one thing, and that's not a concept, you know.
Yes.
And also I think that global south is a catchword which should be differentiated. So I mean, all those countries or cultural fields which perhaps belong to the global south, there are so much contradictions between those all, and now they seem to be a kind of overall contradiction to the global north, and this is a false perspective. And I think he should have worked out more the contradictions inside the global south, and not sum them all up under one catch word. And this makes me a little bit angry, though I have realized and found a lot of very exciting positions. That's my critic to the main exhibition.
Yes, it's a very interesting position you're in with this. So we like to end things on kind of a light note, but since I already asked you which pavilions you found notable, I'd like to ask you, are there any pavilions or perhaps just artworks that you're looking forward to seeing?
I'm looking forward. I mean, I have to look at some other pavilions, but I can't remember now. But I have to mention that the best exhibition in Venice was for me the Pierre Hugues exhibition in Punta Dogana. I think he's also a kind of a genius in a complete other way than Erzan Montag, because he works on this intersection of pre-human existence and post-human existence, and always finds such amazing, such mind-blowing, such forms and inventions of forms and pictures. So that was for me the biggest. I mean, of course, everyone knows Pierre Hugues, but it's interesting that someone who's also in the field for decades always can maintain such a high aesthetic and formal quality while sticking to this crucial issue, post-human condition. And that made me that blew my mind away most of all in the whole biennial.
Yes, great. Thank you so much, Ingo.
Okay.
Pleasure.